Hey, what's up, Giants fans? Welcome to another episode of Giants Talk. I'm Cole Kuiper here with Giants insider Alex Pavlovic. We're talking moves both here in San Francisco and around the league. The offseason is here and the actual content is beginning. Plus, the classic Giants Talk, remembering some guys and some mailbag questions from listeners. Before we get started, Giants Talk is presented by Mancini Sleep World. Mancini Sleep World's Black Friday sale is on, with savings of up to $1,200 on top mattress brands. Plus, for the first time ever, they're having 14 days of deals starting November 14th. Deals on more than just mattresses, including recliners, sofas, pillows, and bedding. Don't sleep on this. Visit your local Mancini Sleep World or visit sleepworld.com.
You know what we always talk about is the mattresses. I love the pillows as well. We never talk about the pillows.
You know, pillows are such an underrated element of the sleep process, and I don't even know where I've acquired my pillows in my life. I don't know if they came from hotels or I just kind of like it was a childhood pillow. My pillows have just kind of always been with me. I think I need to go to Mancini's and refresh my pillow game.
I think that's a guy thing. I have 3 pillows, and I don't know where these. One of them's been with me since college. I think one of them I stole from a hotel.
Yes. And I use them every single day, and they clearly don't have enough importance in my hierarchy of like thinking.
Mancini's took care of that, so I don't know where my pillow that I've had since college now is.
I don't need a new mattress at the moment, but I'm going to take advantage of this and get some new pillows.
There you go.
All right, Alex. It is the offseason, and the Giants have their first move of the offseason. Aside from the managerial hire, but their first pickup, I guess.
And not only that, a throwback to previous days where I think maybe 2/3 of podcasts at some point we were like, and there was a waiver claim. And the Giants did not do waiver claims this year.
No.
Like, Sam Huff was a waiver claim in January, I think. Other than that, they didn't. And it's a weird thing. Like you go, yeah, I guess you don't want to be as waiver happy as Farhan Zaidi was. And then you kind of also look at it and go, well, that's one way to get talent. Why did you just not do it?
Yeah, I mean,
a whole calendar year.
Especially looking at some of the holes the Giants had this season, like short-term holes, lost a pitcher, needed an extra bullpen spot. It would be fascinating to see the pickups that a different administration would have made during the 2025 year.
Yeah, I mean, there was some good, Dom Smith is similar to a waiver claim. That worked out very well. But they've been very quiet on this front. So it's funny that the first official roster move of Buster's second year is to claim 2 guys. This was and I don't even want to say this was a Farhan type move because this is something that, most teams put like the Rockies aside, like most teams regularly churn through stuff like this. I think Gabe Kapler, the new general manager of the Miami Marlins, I think they went through like 15 players last week or something like it seemed like they were dropping 7 guys a day.
Yeah, pretty much.
But it's an interesting group just because we know one of the guys just from basically the World Series, Justin Dean. He is the guy who overtly put his hands up and got the ground rule double. And he's now a San Francisco Giant, at least for the start of the offseason. We'll see also, did the Giants churn through guys? Or do they just kind of go, well, we claim Justin Dean. He will be there in Scottsdale in February.
I imagine it's going to be that. I don't think with who the Giants have in charge, the churn thing really comes as naturally because when you've been in that spot, you don't want to treat the guys like that. But it is funny that once again, we will see a ring handoff at Oracle Park against the Dodgers. Justin Dean earned his ring. The hands in the air heard around the world. Social media, we already talked about it, social media, and even the professional writers ablaze with what was that. But hey, Justin Dean did the right thing. He posted online, "Thank you, LA, for changing my life." One of those guys who not a big stint before this year and, got a ring and moving on to bigger and better things here in San Francisco.
Got a ring. I assume I know got a very, very nice World Series share that will put him somewhere in the nice off-season vacation coming for him. He basically didn't do anything except for be a defensive replacement in the postseason. And even during the season, like he had 2 plate appearances all year. So he's not known as much of a hitter. Even you go through the minor league stuff, there's like a little bit in there, but nothing really where you go, maybe you catch lightning in a bottle. I think this is a really, really good defender. And,
yeah,
he's somebody who also adds outfield depth at a time. I think the most interesting part about this move is what is the next move for that outfield group, which, we know Ramos in left, Lee in center. They don't have a right fielder really right now. There's a bunch of guys on the 40-man, though. I mean, Drew Gilbert will certainly be back. We'll see what they do with Gerard. It was up and down year for him. That's one of those where I think it'll be like, hey, new coaching staff, what do you think of this big guy who hits the ball 115 miles per hour but can't stay healthy? But then there's this group of like Luciano, Matos, Meckler. You can throw McRae in there. I think he's a little bit different because his options aren't that much of an issue. But the defense for him is also such a nice weapon. But there's these guys who would I be surprised if 2 of them are gone by the new year? Like, no, not at all. I mean, there's these guys who are out of options, and it's new coaching staff coming in. And one of the first things the Giants have done is go and get another guy who's very similar in that he's not a big league starter right now, but is an outfielder on your 40-man.
That is the most interesting part of this. Is it's not like this was a bold need. There are so many options in-house that fill this exact role, but we have talked about the defense and how they're trying to improve defensively in the outfield. So we'll see what happens here with Justin Dean, but it would be, we've been here on this podcast talking about some of these guys for so long, Luciano, especially Matos, that saying goodbye to any of them potentially by the end of this year, this is the hard part.
Yeah. And I think the other thing you mentioned here too, is it's one thing that stood out in the postseason, and I don't remember if we talked about this, was center field defense and how good some of the center fielders were, and Varsho on the other side, certainly. And you just kind of, I think watching that as the Giants, you probably, have some serious conversations about what the best thing is to do with Jung-Hoo Lee, not just like future wise, but also in game. Like, is this a situation where they're like, hey, Justin Dean's a really good center fielder, and if he's your 5th guy on the roster, that's your guy in the 8th inning every night. Like, that's so we'll see. GM meetings start this week. Winter meetings are in a month. We'll get more answers from the front office, but a first move, and not on its own. I mean, they also get Raver San Martin, who's a lefty reliever from the Reds, not like a really hard thrower, but has had some success. Is coming off Tommy John surgery, so not a whole lot of recent track record for him. But this is something we've talked about. They need to just collect relief options this offseason, as many as they can, and get them to camp and see who the new pitching coach likes, see who Tony Vitello likes, see who has a good camp. And from the left side in particular, I mean, Eric Miller was healthy at the end of the year. He did miss the entire second half. I think with Miller and Roop, those guys are huge parts potentially of what they do, but also you have to remember they miss huge chunks of 25 with elbow issues. Those can pop up at any time. And then Joey Lucchesi is ARB eligible. I don't know if they're going to want to quite commit that much to him. Maybe it's not a huge amount, but they need left-handed depth. They need relief depth. So this is the type where I think we're going to, I don't think we're going to see a lot of outfielders claimed. I think we could see like 3 or 4 more of these guys.
Oh yeah. Pack these guys in to the spring training roster. I mean, it is weird how I feel about acquiring relief pitching now is just get a bunch of Raver San Martin types and figure out which one just is all of a sudden bonkers for the first time in his career.
Yeah. That's the way you should do it.
Yeah.
It's kind of the way, it's the way teams do it. Like it's early in the morning. Who was the guy who pitched like through 70 pitches in that 18-inning game of Will Klein?
Yeah.
Will Klein has bounced around. The Giants need like 6 Will Kleins this offseason and see which one is horrible in spring and see which one is making your bullpen.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of guys who earned their share of the World Series bounty,
He did. And we should mention Mason Black was the DFA here. Mason, former third round pick. He was tremendously nice kid. Just one of the nicest people who's ever. I know I say this about a lot of guys, but very, very nice guy. And I think someone who worked hard to get where he was, to get in position to be a starter for the Giants, and just never really, a couple seasons of opportunities, and at a time really when they were waiting for anyone to step up and grab innings. Never quite do it. I think he kind of ended up as a relief option towards the end of 25. For Mason, it's always going to be, it's a fine line because he doesn't throw that hard and he's a righty. So it's, and there's not like a dominant second pitch. So needs good command. But look, a couple years with the Giants, we'll see where he goes. See if he gets another opportunity elsewhere.
Well, speaking of Giants pitching, last episode, you and me sat down and ran through all of the current coaches, I think, that we saw potentially sticking around, and talked about the coaches from 10 years past under Gabe Kapler.
Yeah.
One of the names that we discussed was obviously JP Martinez. And we even went into him as a guy that made a lot of sense to stay here on this Giants club with the new coaching group. And JP Martinez leaving San Francisco for Atlanta, hired by the Braves. Alex, what do you make of this? Because he was one of the guys that did seem like it made the most sense to retain, especially with how much pitching and the bullpen was a huge part of the Giants, what the Giants did right.
It did on paper make a ton of sense. He was under contract. He wanted to be back. I know him and his family love San Francisco. He, by all accounts, did a good job. This is something we talk about a lot, is the difficulties of figuring out who did a good job as a coach. But I think from the outside, we can from my perspective, like you take what players say and how often they mention what a guy does and how much he helps them. And I think that number was very high with JP. And the other thing from the outside, just looking in, is you can look at what was the best bullpen in baseball in the first half, and what was, there's some people can look at the young pitching thing and say there's maybe not a ton of success stories this year. I would also say Landon Roop is a tremendous success story, and that counts under his watch. I don't think Kyle was injuries. Hayden Birdsong's the other guy, and he lost his command, and you could say, nobody ever figured that out, but they didn't figure that out in the minors either. So none of the organization's pitching people did. So not a great thing for any of their pitching people, but I don't think that was probably held against him too much. I would just look at what they did with the pitching staff this year. Garvin Alston also told to move on. I thought they did a really nice job, and especially late in the year, like when they were out of big league arms, and they were kind of figuring it out and patching it together, and Beck and Bivens and Trevor McDonald at the end, and throwing a bunch of guys in there, trying to get through games. So I thought they did a nice job, and I thought it made sense to bring back. Someone asked us that question on the last one. Do you just have kind of an offensive coordinator?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, JP knows all these guys. He kind of could. Yeah, if him and Garvin are still in charge of pitching, that would make sense. But Tony does have a little bit more pitching in his background than position player stuff. And this wasn't a huge surprise to me, just because I know JP wanted to stay. And I also think right around the time they were, introducing Tony and starting to move on, they hadn't really, this would have been an easy one at the press conference to be like, JP Martinez is coming back. He's in charge of pitching. They have someone else in mind. We'll see who that is. The people's questions about why would he go somewhere else? You don't take a bullpen job when you're a pitching coach.
You don't do a step down.
Yeah. Next step is being a manager. But he ends up in a good situation, I think, in Atlanta. That's a really good team. And I would not be surprised at all if this time of year from now we're remembering some guys and being like, JP Martinez is now the pitching coach of so-and-so. So I think good reputation in the game. Giants have a huge hole to fill, just have a bunch of huge spots to fill. And we'll see. There hasn't been a whole lot. And just even in my conversations with people, just not a whole lot in terms of coaching over the last couple of weeks.
this is a hard one to figure out too. Just even speculate who the pitching coach could be replacing JP Martinez, because I don't know, from like my side, more of the fan element of things, I don't know the names that actually make sense. I could throw out a few former Giants who pitched really well that I'd like to see back in the organization, but that's not anything with that's not even an educated guess. That's just a remembering some guy, basically.
We got some questions from people who were like, what about Timmy? What about Bum? What
about Timmy? Sure.
Yeah, the only former Giant who I could see being in this mix at some point, I just want to remind people, like, most of these guys have made lifetime wealth and have kids, young kids, and are enjoying summer breaks for the first time in their life and have no reason to sit there from 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. trying to figure out who's available to throw 30 pitches tomorrow. But the only guy I could see doing this sometime soon is Ryan Vogelsong.
That was exactly what I was going to say.
His name is going to be out there for this one, I think, as well. I've been under the impression that, and not just under the impression, I think this is true, Ryan's son is playing baseball. He's going through high school. I think he's been trying to get, I think he probably will be an option for a big league team after that.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, this is one of those cases where you maybe go, it's Buster Posey, and Buster makes the call. So, and says, hey, we need you over here. So we'll see what happens. Ryan's done really good work with Giants minor leaguers over the last few years, and he stands out as, but any other like recent Giant name you're throwing out there, unless it's some total random guy who's coaching somewhere, this isn't random, but like Dan Runswer's coaching already. Travis is coaching already. Those guys are coming through the pipeline. But
you're saying Madison Bumgarner doesn't want to come back to San Francisco and be a pitching coach?
Good luck even getting him on the phone.
No, I think Vogelsong is uniquely equipped for a role like this. You talked about how he's already involved with coaching, but just being one of those guys who had to have a mid-career hiatus where he retooled everything, with his stint in Japan, coming back, and then being better than ever the second round, that is the kind of insight that makes him uniquely qualified to coach.
And I think whenever he decides he wants to do it, he's going to be great at it. And this isn't just me saying it because I covered him. I've talked to his teammates who are just like, whenever he decides he wants to be that guy, he's going to be really good at this.
Yeah.
But we'll see. He's been in the mix. He was in the mix a year ago. Name was brought up. His name's been brought up internally before. They haven't been ready to go down that path yet. Yeah.
All right, moving on. We have a lot of moves around the league. Oh, how about this one? Not a move, but just something notable. Parks Harbor made the Fall League Fall Stars game. That was one of the guys the Giants got from the Yankees in the Doval trade. I feel like quite a few of the players involved in those trade deadline trades have already kind of left my general stream of consciousness. Yeah. So cool to see one of these pop back up.
Yeah, he's had a really good fall league. OPS over 1,200, hitting 386, 3 homers in 16 games, 9 doubles, hitting the crap out of the ball. I think we kind of put him to the side when the trade was made because he was older and he was an A-ball. And, it is the guys who came from a big-time college program and he was Georgia, North Carolina, and then you go straight into A-ball. Like I kind of need to see it at a higher level. But he did do a really nice job at Eugene when he got traded this year. Only a short time there. He was injured at the time of the trade. But at some point, you do kind of catch up to – it's a funny curve. Like, he was older for A-ball, but he's probably going to be in Double-A, I would say, to start next year. And then he's 24. Mm-hmm. So it's like at some point, you catch up to that, and that doesn't become as much of a red flag. So he has hit everywhere he's been, and we'll see where that goes. But a lesser known part of that trade, and so far has done a nice job.
Would be great to see that be a hit part of the trade that makes the Yankees regret it. It'd be useful to have. And this probably is out of your stream of content experience, but the main reason I think of him was, I guess he went super viral during the trade deadline because his girlfriend was kind of like posting about the whole, what it's like to all of a sudden have to uproot your life in the middle of the summer to move.
Oh, I miss that.
Yeah.
It's it's hard for big leaguers. I can't. Minor leaguers, it's way
It
worse.
must be insane.
Yeah, you don't get not the same level of service. Not to
No, the white glove service doesn't exist when you're coming from
it's
able
a
to
lot
able.
harder to get your car across the country.
Yeah.
The other thing I'll note about him, some people ask me about him playing outfield. He's been a corner guy, corner infield guy, but him playing outfield in the fall league, I think that's notable just because I think that's going to be the case with a lot of Giants who can hit. Like Chapman's at first or Chapman's at third, Devers and Eldridge are at first. Like they're going to stick these guys in the outfield and see who can hit their way to the big leagues. And that's going to happen to a lot of guys the next couple of years.
Yeah. Obviously, on today's episode, we have to talk about the Platinum Glove being awarded. Patrick Bailey and Logan Webb took home the Gold Gloves, and I think everyone was astounded to see Fernando Tatis Jr. in San Diego take home the Platinum Glove before it was revealed to everyone who I guess should have known this, that it was a fan voting thing. I didn't vote. I didn't know I had to vote for this.
The whole thing seems like it needs an overhaul. First of all, fan voting for something that is like, we take Gold Gloves very seriously. Just as it's a long running award. It's something that you talk about with players all the time. It's part of their profile. You say 4-time Gold Glove Award winner, 6-time Gold Glove Award winner, 1-1. It's something that comes up like Hall of Fame voting. I look at that a little bit just to see where they stood defensively, since we don't have as many metrics from like 20, 30 years ago. So this is part of that. And for it to be a fan vote and not even like a well-publicized fan vote is insane.
Yes.
And feels like they should change it. I think Patrick should have won the Platinum Glove last year. And Tatis is excellent in right field. By every metric, Bailey was the best defender in the National League, like by every metric. And he's the catcher. Like he touches the ball every single pitch. So Tatis, yes, he robs a bunch of home runs. He can also probably go 3 or 4 days without having to work too hard. That's nothing against him. That's just the reality of right field. Like he's not even a center fielder. So this is a little crazy to me. I'm not going to get too worked up about a fan vote because fan votes are what they are. It just seems insane that something that is so meaningful, being named the best defender in your league, so much of that would be a random fan vote that's not that well publicized.
This, of all the different awards or contests or titles to put to a fan vote, this is probably the worst possible one too.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy for a fan to just follow the MLB Instagram account and see Tatis Jr. make a play once a week, once every 2 weeks, and be like, oh, that's the guy. I see him all the time. Whereas, that there's not, the values are trackable now. We have data for defensive runs saved or fielding value or whatever. And Bailey's massively at the top of all of these charts by 1.5 times the next person.
I mean, the only thing that the Sabre Defensive Index, which plays a chunk in Gold Glove voting, that's the only one where Tatis was like, could make an argument. He still finished behind Patrick Bailey. Like he was second. He rated really well there. He still was behind Patrick Bailey. So
now I will say, if fans or even the Platinum Glove people want to say, look, pitch framing is not the type of defense we are talking about when we do this kind of award, I respect that. Maybe I don't agree, but I get the argument there. It's a whole different type of defense unique to the catcher position.
Yeah.
But Pete Crow Armstrong then.
Yeah, I just think, as far as we'll see what it looks like when ABS is here, but in 2025, Patrick Bailey was the best defensive player in the National League. And he really has, you could say it has been since he got called up. So it's at some point and Matt Chapman's won the Platinum Glove. Like it does it does honor good defenders. I just, Bailey's the guy. When I dug into this and saw the fan vote aspect, I'm like, what?
Yeah. What are we doing here?
What are we doing here? Put a panel of put some nerds together on a panel and throw a couple coaches on there. And yeah, we're done.
Oh, but think of the engagement, Alex. That's what it's all about.
Here's the thing, like I didn't even, maybe I missed it. Did you even see anything about fan voting?
Nothing. I found out about fan voting after it was announced, and everyone was like, "What the hell happened?"
Yeah, we need an overhaul here.
Yeah,
what's going on?
Please. All right, and then we have two signings elsewhere in the NL West. First off, Padres named their new manager Craig Stammen.
How about that?
All right.
What was your
not
first
a name that was up in the mix for our list of managerial options.
No, I honestly, I made this joke on Twitter. It's not even that much of a joke. If you had told me he would, like, let's say it's one of the Giants face him like April 4th next year or something.
Mm-hmm.
If you told me Craig Stammen was warming up in the bullpen, in the Padres bullpen, I would have been like, okay. like he's one of those guys that just
was around for so long.
Nabil Krismat. If you tell me his 5 years from now, you tell me he's going to be an opener against the Giants, I'll be like, okay.
Yeah, sure.
So, but Stammen, he's been around forever. He faced the Giants a ton. He faced them in the final game of 21. He pitched like in the 4th inning, gave up a huge double to Wilmer Flores. Logan Webb scored. Buster Posey got a hit off of him. So that one's off the board. Is it Giants? If you're a Giants person, I guess I'd feel okay about this. I don't know. It doesn't. You could say the same from the other side. Like they could look at Tony and be like, there's no experience there, which is fair. But for a team they're trying to run down, like I think if I were the Giants executive, I think I would have been a little more worried about like an Albert Pujols or someone who could maybe get more accountability from that, and maybe Stammen will. But these are weird. Like the hired from the front office, those are always, that just makes me think like, okay, so you have the general manager or president of baseball operations, like his arm is in the clubhouse now. Yeah.
It is odd considering what it seems like San Diego has problems with is accountability with their stars. You'd think you'd want to bring in a guy who walks into that room with automatic respect, but maybe a teammate of those guys has a little more clout than we're giving him credit for.
Well, I think he does. And, I always I know their beat writers. I like their beat writers and reading their stories and seeing their appearances the last few days. They all were just kind of like, he's one of our favorite people we've ever covered. So I don't know what the comparison, maybe this would be like if Javi Lopez became Giants manager, we'd be on here just like, this is brilliant. Like, we love Javi. So, but it's also just straight. It's relief pitcher is very rare. So this is going to be interesting.
Craig Stammen is 41 years old, and we didn't even mention on this podcast this like swath of very young managers getting hired. The one specifically we didn't mention in the Washington Nationals, a 33-year-old Blake Butera. That is a young manager.
Making us feel old.
Yeah, right?
I mean, Tony's sneaky old compared to these guys.
Right. Immediately I was like, okay, 41, this guy, that's probably about Tony's age. No, he's 46, 47? Yeah. 47.
It's I don't think it's wrong necessarily the way I saw some articles of people being like, this is completely off the board, the way people are doing managers. I'm like, it's also not to like bring it, but like, some of the names just get thrown out because the guy managed once already. Like and I put together a list and you kind of look at who's on other people's lists, and it's like Rocco Baldelli and David Ross and these guys who have just done it. I don't think it's wrong to try something new. It's just funny that it's like this offseason, there was a bunch of openings, and there's probably a bunch of guys who just managed, like Brandon Hyde just managed, probably thought, oh, there's 8 openings. Like I'm a lock for.
I'm a shoe-in. Where am I moving?
Yeah. But you have the ones like Craig Albernes who are more traditional, just moving up from number 2 to number 1. But we do have some really off the board choices here. Yeah.
All right. And then one more addition within the NL West. The Rockies picked Paul DePodesta to be their, what is this role? President of Baseball Operations?
Yeah.
And that is a name I'm sure Bay Area people know because of his time with the A's, but most notably from being played kind of by Jonah Hill in Moneyball. What did they renamed him Paul something else, right? They didn't use the name Paul DePodesta.
He didn't want his name in the movie.
Yeah.
Um,
But very cool.
Oh, again, if I'm the Giants and I'm like, I think I would have been more worried about some other people, like some, but we'll see. I spending the last decade with the Cleveland Browns doesn't really inspire confidence. And I know you're not a huge football guy,
but I am from Cleveland, so I get that joke.
You do get that part of it, and in particular, like what they've done with their quarterbacks forever, but in the last like 3 or 4 years, when you go like this guy had a huge hand in that, does not inspire a ton of confidence. This one came out of nowhere. To see that name, this was a name from like our childhood, basically.
Yeah. I've read Moneyball several times.
Yeah.
And I will say, you and I have talked about how running the Rockies is a fascinating role where someone who's willing to get creative could do some really interesting things in Colorado. And it's possible this line, I mean, obviously the version of him I read about is from 20 years ago at this point, 25 years ago. But if he's willing to really hone in on just getting those minor statistical edges like of the Moneyball era, it could be exactly what the Rockies need. You know, building a team that is Coors Field centric.
This reading some of the stories, felt like some people turned them down because of their lack of infrastructure there and some of the things they do there. And I don't know. It's been a long time since this guy's had and maybe he'll be great. But again, if you're the Giants and you're looking at that team behind you, I'm probably not. There's a couple other guys who were mentioned during this who I think I would have been more worried about them turning Colorado around quickly.
Just with the cycle of how baseball works and how sports work, we know the Rockies will get good. There will be a Rockies stint in the next 15 years, 10 years. Yeah. When does their cycle come back around?
Yeah, at some point. Though.
Yeah, I mean, with what the Dodgers are doing, that it makes it even harder for the natural progression of a division to turn over. But yeah, it doesn't seem like they're within a decade.
I think that's a sleeping giant there because they've weirdly spent some money, like the Chris Bryant deal. Every once in a while, they'll go out and get a free agent.
It's a fabulous deal for them.
Everyone hates playing there. Like you can have a huge home field advantage, the biggest one in the league, and they have a good fan base. They do show up still. So, I don't know if this is the move that'll wake up that sleeping giant, but yeah, the Cleveland Brown things, I just can't get over. I can't get over looking at that and being, so what were you doing for the last decade? The Cleveland Browns?
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that you leave off your resume. Like, what were you doing? Oh, I was finding myself. Yeah. Oh, I was doing some volunteer work.
I was a consultant.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
All right.
I'll run through this quickly, remembering some guys. These are deep cuts. The new hitting coach in Baltimore is Dustin Lind, who was a Giants coach here. He was part of Johnny Ecker, Justin Veely. Very nice guy. I'm happy for Dustin. He's reunited with Craig Alberness, and smart move too. You're going to be a young hitting coach, get that job for the first time. I'd go to the place with all of the 23-year-old first-round picks. So that's a smart one. Aramis Garcia signs a minor league deal with the Diamondbacks. So shout out to him. He's still former Giant. In the catching mix there at some point. And then this is a really deep cut, but I think we've talked about Michael Schwartz a little bit here. I
remember reading the articles about wasn't he like a tech guy?
He was a tech guy. He was in charge of analytics for the Giants, in clubhouse analytics, basically going back to the end of Bobby's tenure and then through Gabe, really until last offseason. He was let go a year ago at this time. And now assistant general manager of the Braves. He got promoted there after being there for a year. So they are sneaky becoming the I guess it's not the same as when there's a team with like 4 former Giants on it, but they like
Pete Patilla's there. Braves for a while. So they're just doubling down.
But their front office and coaching staff now, there's a bunch of guys we know.
Yeah. All right. Quick little remembering of some guys before we get to the mailbag. By the way, Alex, before we go any further, have you been following the Tony V press junket interviews? Stamina on this man. I mean, we did one with him here on this podcast, but it's been crazy.
As someone whose job it is to follow this, I'm having a hard time keeping up.
Yeah.
And this is great. He's great for the media. I'm just like, I can't. There's too many interviews.
Yeah. And it's weird, or it's fun seeing the different types of interviews he gets compared to I don't know, a Bob Melvin. There's a guy coming from Tennessee in the SEC. I don't know. It's been really interesting, and everyone gets me more excited.
My November is going to be spent catching up on Tony Vitello podcast interviews.
Exactly.
So I'm like halfway there.
All right.
By the time I get through all of them, it'll be time for him to come on Giants Talk again.
We've got mailbag questions, but first, Giants Talk is presented by Mancini's Sleep World, and Mancini's Sleep World's Black Friday sale is on. Enjoy deals that will save you up to $1,200 on their daily featured deals starting on the 14th. Bedding bundles packed with pillows, sheets, and more. Don't sleep on this. Visit your local Mancini Sleep World or visit sleepworld.com. Okay, we've got mailbag questions. The first one today is from Henry. Henry says, any chance of pursuing Imanaga or Cease? I also like Chris Bassett as a end of rotation guy. Seems like he could help this team at perhaps a reasonable price tag.
I think I'm going to group almost every one of the pitching ones and just be like, yes, they're going to talk to these guys. They need multiple starting pitchers. They need veterans in that group. I do like the guys. Cease is going to get a huge contract, probably. I do kind of like the guys who are in that 3-year mix. Like I generally like those contracts. They don't hurt as much if they go wrong, and a lot of these go wrong. So the guys who are in the 2-year, 32 or whatever, 3 years, 45, 54, whatever it ends up being, I like those ones. And I think if you read between the lines of some of, John Shea had a great story with Greg Johnson recently, and you read some of those quotes, sounds like the Giants would rather be in the mix for more of those guys than the $150 million guys.
Which is kind of what we've been harping on this podcast for years now.
Yeah.
Giants aren't going to make the Barry Zito offer.
Yeah, I think you hit on those guys. It's great. And if you don't, it doesn't hurt too much. And also, like, weirdly, those contracts become tradable because everyone else wants pitching. Like, DeSclafani got one of them and he got traded. So, that's the sweet spot, I think.
Yeah, we've been getting a lot of questions that are basically like, what are the odds of this player? Any chance at this player? And it's like the Giants are going to be in the mix for all these guys.
Any pitching, and I think the next question here is about Freddie Peralta. Like, I'll just say specifically, like, any pitching they're going to call on. And, there's some where you go, like, Zach came from Milwaukee, obviously has more of a connection there. Yeah. So maybe that's a little bit easier. I would also, like, I was reading about Freddie yesterday to prep for this, and David Stearns makes a ton of sense, too, in the Mets. So, he would – any pitching, I think the answer is yes.
Well, don't use up all your Freddie Peralta stuff because I haven't even used the question yet.
Okay.
Hayden says, there's been plenty of mention of Buster using the trade market to get starting pitching. What is the chance the Giants trade for Freddie Peralta and extend him, just like the Red Sox did with Crochet? Since he only has a year left of control, we shouldn't have to give up too many prospects to get him.
I always push back against we shouldn't have to give up too many prospects to get a guy who's like a down ballot Cy Young.
Yeah, and also, why don't they just trade for him and re-sign him?
Yeah.
What if you trade for him and you can't re-sign him, and then you just gave up all your prospects for a rental?
Yeah, I do think that, it's always hard to talk about trades because those kind of come out of nowhere as opposed to like whispers of free agent rumors or hearing from agents. But they probably need to trade for one as well. Sign one, trade for one.
Yeah.
Michael says... talk about. I mean, Peralta, Joe Ryan, like those will be the names that pop up.
Michael says, I'm sure you guys have a ton of people asking about Kyle Tucker. I feel like he's destined to become a $400 million man by the Dodgers or Yankees, and there's been no buzz towards the Giants till a recent Bleacher Report article. Do you guys agree, or do you think he'll be a Giant? I hunted down the article in question. It looked like it was basically just referencing Passan and Heyman saying he'd be a fit in San Francisco. End of sentence. So I don't know that there's actually any buzz about this. And I am not starting Tucker watch here on Giants Talk.
We're not yet. Yeah, it's again, GM meetings start this week. We start to get more information. We start to talk to more people. Giants managerial search has taken up a lot of the air in the room the last month, just in the conversations I have with people. I'll say it's not a name that has come up a lot over the years in my conversations with like Giants people behind the scenes of like, who do you love? But then Rafi Devers was the same. So he just came out of nowhere. So Buster keeps things close. I'll just caution people too. We are in that season, which people should be used to by now, where the Giants just get thrown into all these things because they have money and they're the Giants, and people look at it and go, well, they need a right fielder. So they will be thrown into every Kyle Tucker story, I think, for the next month. And we'll see how much fire there ends up being there. But that's I always push back, not to talk about any companies in particular, but some of them are very good at making graphics and throwing the Giants logo in like the number 2 or 3 spot. So
what they have Justin Dean now. What do they need Kyle Tucker for?
It would be, I think the reason you and I push back is because we all say this, like Devers came out of nowhere and they took on that money and that was a shock. It would not be their style to go and spend $350-400 million on Kyle Tucker.
Yes.
And I think Bags made this point recently in a story that Buster has been generally pretty honest about, like, he was like, I need a shortstop, and goes to the top of the market. And he's only talks about pitching for the last 5-6 weeks. So to come out of nowhere and get the top position player, I think when all they talk about is how much pitching they need, would be a surprise.
Well, the other outfielder free agent that's been tied to the Giants by national media this week was Cody Bellinger. I think USA Today plugged him as San Francisco being their most likely destination for him to end up. And that's the same thing for me. I'm like, I don't see that being the priority, but
it could end up being, one of these guys. Offseason just starting. This is, again, I'll just say this is part of the offseason where it's really easy to put the Giants, the Mets, the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Blue Jays, the Phillies in your story and say, I'm done. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Here are my 6 suitors. So Red Sox, whatever.
Next question is from Sterling. Sterling says, ball dudes, how do people get there? It must be paid given the older demographic. Other teams have younger, even college athletes. It seems way more fun. I would love to see USF or Cal, Stanford players in there. Entertainment! Exclamation point.
Well, I don't know that it gets more entertaining than the old dudes we have.
Yeah, I mean, I was raised on America's Funniest Home Videos, and that's what the entertainment angle I think the Giants are going for. Dudes taking tumbles.
Yeah, I don't need the guy who's a college left fielder. And
the guy who's out there lacing up cleats thinking this is half ball dude gig, half tryout.
I don't need that. To answer the question, I have a friend who asked me this during the season, and I looked into it, and I think it's very expensive.
Yeah.
So I think it goes to charity, but I do believe you have to make a sizable.
Yeah.
Maybe more. I think you have to make a sizable donation.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't mind using the occasional game to plug in a student athlete, or if any celebrity Giants fans wanted to do it, get them out there. But I have no problem with the ball dude angle rather than the younger person angle.
Yeah, I don't. We don't need the guy lacing up.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't need the eye black on. Like we need the old guy who's going to fall, and your dad and Mike can make fun of him.
Yes, exactly. All right, one more question on today's episode from Joshua. Trey Savage was awe-inspiring in his World Series appearances against the Dodgers. Cam Schlitter was impressive with the Yankees. Do the Giants have any pitchers in the minors that you think could make that sudden rise to reach MLB and dominate?
Great question. I don't think they have anyone currently in this mold, but I mean, guys can come out of nowhere. You look at they've mostly drafted position players in high rounds the last few. I know there's been a couple drafts where they took only pitchers, but their first round picks have generally been position player guys. Have not done great in that department. You look at their top 10. I mean, Wisenhunt's currently their top ranked pitching prospect. Kayama, Martinez, those guys are much younger. So yeah, one of them could flash and become a dude out of nowhere. It's looking at like Savage in particular. Again, I think it's easier the guys who went to college and have success there, and those guys can move quickly through the minors because it's basically like repeating some of what they've done. So the Giants don't necessarily have that guy, but it is something that stood out to me watching in the postseason, and I think we talked about Birdsong in that respect. Like, who's your guy? Can you find a couple of these? Because it seemed like every team that had success in October had a couple guys where it's like, who the hell is this guy? He's 23. He was in Double-A in June. Like, so they need to do a better job of developing those as well.
The story that everyone walks away with from this World Series is going to be Yamamoto. But if that hadn't happened, it would be the young, dare I say, no-name guys who every team got carried on the backs of.
Yeah.
When the stars didn't perform.
Savage was the guy. Like
exactly.
Yeah, he was a story for a couple days in the World Series. So it's an important one, and maybe something I'll dig into this offseason is kind of looking at where they are pitching. They've done so much work on the position player side the last few years, and I think they felt great coming into camp this spring about all the pitching, and it's just not like a huge depth chart right now where you go like, that guy could start game 2 of a postseason series.
Yeah.
I don't know there's nobody I'd pick to. Like Landon Root's the closest they have to that.
Savage started the season in A-ball. So this would be like, I don't know, Junior Marte storming to the playoffs.
Yeah. I'll be curious to see if next year's draft, if there's a little more emphasis on some of these guys.
Yeah.
Because it is also similar. I mean, this is a very different thing, but Tim Lincecum did this. Like he was barely in the minors. Bum was younger, but he was he was a high school guy, but he was very young when he got to the big leagues. So, I think that was one thing that stood out too in the postseason was, and this is something the Giants did with Timmy, was like, you're not going to use those pitches in the minors. Like you have a certain number of bullets left. You're going to use them in the big leagues. And that was what they said when he got drafted. And it seemed like a few teams did that this postseason, where it was like, there's no point in you doing the traditional path. Like, and I forgot who made this point. I saw this on Twitter, but like with all the pitch labs and everything we have now, like you can kind of even see when a guy's in A-ball, like, oh, that's like a big league pitch.
Yeah.
So, but Giants need to get there. They're not there yet.
Yeah, no one quite like that waiting. I just want to end with a general note. This is kind of, I don't know, this is a complaint and observation before we wrap this up. The number of Dodgers hats I have seen in the Bay Area the past week.
Really?
It's like, I mean, it's incredible. At the end of the day, we share a state. They are the most popular team in Major League Baseball, but I'm enough of like a pseudo narcissist that every time I see one, I'm like, oh, they're trying to piss me off. Look at that. Look at them walking around as if they just won the World Series.
I don't want to get you in trouble, but where do you stand on the governor supporting both teams?
I think you got to do what you got to do as a politician.
I think that's the problem with politicians.
I get it. But we just saw in the New York election, that was on the debate stage. Everyone had to pick an NBA team, and they did it wholeheartedly.
He picked Knicks, right? I think
he picked Knicks.
Yeah. It is politics. I get it. I was a political science major.
So you, as a poli-sci major, do you think there would be value to being the guy who like puts his foot down and says, I'm a Dodgers fan. I'm a Giants fan.
No, and I think all there's this is the way it's just always been. But I do hope we get to a point where people just go, you know what, you're a Giant, just be the Giants guy.
Yeah. If the Pope can be a White Sox fan, I think anyone can be an anything fan.
You're not going to lose any votes. So I don't think anyone's voting on that. So it's not just our guy. It's every governor, every city, whatever. Almost 98% of politicians do it this way.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to get to a point where you're like, no, I'm the Giants guy. I'm unapologetic about that.
But here's the thing. If there were a candidate I loved and he was like, I'm unapologetically a Dodgers fan, I might balk at filling that bubble in. I'd probably still vote for him, but like I would hesitate a little, and you can't have that.
This is why they do it this way.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I'm part of the problem.
Yeah. I haven't seen any Dodger hats.
Yeah, but I've seen a ton. But you know what? It's fuel for the fire. Giants, go out there, claim the Bay Area, claim California. We gotta end their reign of terror.
Well, if you see Cole on the streets, go and talk to him and say hi, Giants Talk listener here, because he's going through it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I need you. Until then, if I don't hear from you in person, we'll be back with another episode later this week. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Don't forget to leave a review wherever you get your podcast. Don't forget to get Alex's book, The Franchise, available on paperback now. Makes a great holiday present. And don't forget to send us any mailbag questions you may have for us to answer on some of these slower days through the off season. You can send those wherever you can find us on social media.
I have a question for listeners. If any of them actually works in politics, it's been 22 years since I was a poli-sci major. I'd be curious, like, would you do the same thing with like the Angels and the Padres? Is it blanket? Like anyone from California succeeds and you get the shout out from the governor?
Yeah. Should we try to have Gavin on and ask?
Can we get him? Yeah.
I'll see if I can get him.
I just wonder how it is. Like I was thinking about that. I'm like, maybe he has. I don't follow the tweets that closely. Like if the LA Kings still, if the Ducks win the Stanley Cup,
they must. They
it's
must.
Automatic. I guess.
Yeah, I think it's automatic.
I don't know. I don't follow some of this stuff closely enough.
Yeah,
but it's probably automatic.